After transmigrating into an Angst novel as the beta male character, I completely broke down. An incompetent husband, a cheating wife, a plot where he graciously forgives her and even raises another man's child, and the most ridiculous part, the system told me that if I wanted to return to my original world, I had to fill up my heartbreak level. But what the system never expected was this: when Willow tried to morally manipulate me into lending her luxury car to her childhood sweetheart to help him save face, I spoke first. Freya came to our house today and accidentally broke the wishing bottle in our master bedroom. She didn't mean it, so don't hold it against her. After all, she's like my little sister next door. Oh, and she looked really upset. So to comfort her, I gave her that box of necklaces you kept in your cabinet. The wishing bottle was the birthday gift Willow had given me back in college, filled with 1,000 paper cranes she'd spent an entire month folding. And that box of necklaces, the custom-made anniversary gift I had ordered for her at an exorbitant price. Willow's face turned deathly pale, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. The system screamed in panic, trying to stop my reckless words, but the next second, watched as the heartbreak level rose by 1 bar. The system was dumbfounded. I chuckled and said, "You never said I had to torture myself. Can't I just torture that trashy woman and still finish the mission?" Chapter 1. Willow's lips parted slightly, her voice trembling. Why did Freya come to our house, and why did she go into the master bedroom? I looked completely indifferent. I said, "She came back to the country today. I went to pick her up at the airport, and I invited her over to sit for a while, just showed her around. She's my childhood neighbor. That's perfectly normal, isn't it?" She shouted. "But she broke the gift I gave you." She screamed those words out loud. I rubbed my ear impatiently and said, "I know. Why are you yelling like that? It's just a glass bottle. It broke. So what? If you really mind it that much, I'll buy you another one." Willow's hand clenched tightly by her side. She shouted, "Is it about the bottle?" There were 1,000 paper cranes inside, every one of them folded by me, each one filled with my feelings for you. How could you be so careless? And you even gave her the necklace I gave you for our wedding anniversary. What exactly is going on between you two? George, do you still even see me as your wife? Oh, getting nervous. I replied disapprovingly. Enough already. All this yelling, what kind of behavior is that? You're a woman. Can't you be a little more reserved? I told you already. She's just a neighbor. I only see her as a sister. If there really was something between us, it would have happened long ago. Why would I have married you? After hearing enough manipulative lines from men in control, saying this kind of thing myself sent a rush of satisfaction from head to toe. Finally, I'd said one of the classic lines from an Angst novel's cheating woman myself. Refreshing. After my moral lecture, I immediately softened my tone and put on a gentle, caring look. I said, "Darling, don't overthink it. You know my heart belongs only to you. Don't make a scene. Okay, I'm tired. I'll go back to the room to rest." I didn't care about Willow's dark expression as I got up to leave, but suddenly she grabbed my arm. Frowning, she stared at me as if trying to read my mind. I kept my expression calm and emotionless, letting her scrutinize me. After a long moment, she exhaled and said through gritted teeth, "Fine, just be more careful next time. Makoto has an award ceremony tomorrow night. Lend him your Rolls-Royce so he can look respectable." Here we go again. The cheating woman had spoken. The implication was obvious. After all, by unspoken rule, one never lends out his wife or his car. Chapter 2. I said, "Ah, honey, why didn't you say so earlier?" I exclaimed dramatically. She asked, "What's wrong?" I replied, "Well, Freya's having her concert tomorrow night too. I didn't want her to look bad, so I already lent her the car and the driver." Willow stared at me, stunned. "You lent it out?" "Yeah," I answered casually. She asked again, "That's your most treasured car. You just lent it to someone else like that?" See, even she knew I never lent my car out. Yet she'd so casually asked me to lend it to her childhood sweetheart. The ridiculous part was, not only did she dare to ask, but in the original Angst novel, the pathetic beta male actually agreed. The logic of a cheating woman and a beta male, utterly incomprehensible. I said, "Listen to yourself. How can Freya be an outsider? She's my childhood friend. I've always seen her as my little sister. What's wrong with lending it to her?" Willow's face turned red. She looked at me as if I were a stranger. She snapped, "It's Freya again. You're doing this for her again." She was about to continue when her phone suddenly rang. She took it out, glanced at the screen, and pressed her lips together. Then she looked up at me for a long moment before turning away toward the balcony. Looks like her childhood sweetheart was calling to check on the mission progress. Too bad that mission was doomed to fail. I turned around coolly and headed back to the bedroom. Chapter 3. When I first transmigrated here, I almost lost it. I wanted to strangle the system, because this was the dumbest, most cliché Angst novel ever written. The male and female leads had loved each other for 6 years and been married for 4. Until the appearance of the female lead's childhood sweetheart ruined everything. In the original story, the heroine and her male best friend flirted ambiguously, testing her husband's limits again and again. Even so, the male lead never lifted a finger against her, never even thought of revenge. He stayed trapped in a quantum superposition of tolerance and forgiveness. Until, in the end, he chose to walk away empty-handed, achieving a so-called spiritual victory. Only after he left did the heroine finally regret it all. I won't even start on what was wrong with the male lead, but that heroine, she was truly something else. If you said she loved the male lead, then why was she so fickle? Using his love as armor, acting spoiled and arrogant, and siding with her childhood sweetheart every time, just to humiliate her husband. But if you said she didn't love him, then why, after he left, did she spiral into self-destruction, launching a whole arc of self-inflicted pain just to win him back? It's the same tired formula, not cherishing what she has, then regretting it after losing it, and somehow, the audience eats it up every time. Still, in stories like this, it's clear that the cheating woman really does love the male lead, me, George. That's why, when I treat her the same way she was going to treat me, it actually gets under her skin. I mean, seriously, why must I torture myself to fill up the heartbreak level? I'm not that stupid. Treat myself gently, drive others insane. That's my motto. If she's going to play dirty, I'll play first. The system chimed in. Impressive, I replied. Cut the praise. How much heartbreak level do I have now? It said, 1-0. When you defended Freya earlier, she was genuinely heartbroken. I grinned. That's just the beginning. She's got plenty more heartbreak coming her way. Chapter 4. A cheating woman is a cheating woman because she never thinks her lack of boundaries is a problem. Without my Rolls-Royce to help, Willow paid out of pocket to rent a luxury car. Makoto, that washed-up C-list actor, used the rented stretch Maybach to draw everyone's attention, quickly going viral online with a fake persona, the hidden rich kid chasing his dreams in showbiz. After the ceremony, he secretly picked up Willow for dinner. Unfortunately for them, the paparazzi caught it all on camera. Soon, rumors of Makoto hiding his lover in a golden cage spread like wildfire, and his popularity skyrocketed. In the original story, Willow's explanation was perfunctory. She simply said it was a misunderstanding. The male lead said nothing, but stayed up all night in anger. I could already tell Willow planned to use the same excuse on me. Too bad for her, she couldn't find me anywhere, because while she was having dinner with Makoto, I was attending Freya's concert. Freya's a singer, a graduate from an elite overseas music academy, and she's held countless successful performances. In terms of fame, she's leagues above Makoto, that fading wannabe actor. After the concert, Freya and I had dinner at a couple's restaurant, and a few overeager fans snapped some photos. Thanks to the angle, it looked almost like we were kissing. When the photos hit the internet, they caused a massive stir, instantly overshadowing the fresh scandal between Makoto and Willow. Neither Freya nor Makoto made any public statement to deny their gossip, and just like that, the whole internet went wild. When I came home slightly tipsy, Willow was sitting on the sofa in an evening gown. Her hands were clenched tightly, her face full of resentment as she glared at me. I frowned, waved a hand through the thick cloud of perfume in the air, and said, "It's late. Why are you still up?" Thud. Willow slammed her phone onto the table. The screen showed a photo of me and Freya, apparently kissing. She asked coldly, "Aren't you going to explain this?" I calmly took off my coat, rubbed my temples in fatigue, and said, "It was just dinner. Normal social interaction." "Dinner? You call that dinner? You were kissing her?" Willow shot to her feet. "George, do you think I'm stupid?" I glanced up at her, her lips pale, eyes red at the corners, practically shaking with anger. I said, puzzled, "It's just the camera angle. We were eating. That's all. The trending topic online is just media exaggeration. Why are you taking it so seriously?" Then I added, "Can't you stop being so sensitive?" Willow's eyes widened. "Sensitive? My husband gets caught kissing another woman and makes the hot search, and I'm being sensitive?" I shrugged. "Well, isn't it just like the rumors between you and Makoto? All overreactions by others, right?" At the mention of Makoto, she froze for a split second, her face tightening. Inside, I was thrilled. Nothing feels better than putting a cheating woman in her place. I softened my tone, speaking slowly. "You know Freya just came back to the country. We've known each other for years. I went to support her concert, help her save face, nothing more. Those dinner photos blowing up were just an accident. Don't get the wrong idea." Willow's lips trembled. Her eyes were red, glistening with tears she refused to shed. I walked up to her, pulled her gently into my arms, and said tenderly, "All right, enough. Don't be upset. Your birthday's in 2 days. I've already arranged the banquet, and I even prepared a gift for you. You'll love it. After all, keeping the cheating woman emotionally invested makes the heartbreak later much more satisfying. Willow stared at me for a long while, then asked softly, "You and Freya, there's really nothing between you?" I raised my hand and swore. Absolutely innocent. After a long silence, Willow exhaled heavily. "I'm tired," she said quietly. "I want to rest." She stood up, swaying slightly, and walked toward the bedroom, her back full of dejection. I opened the system panel. Heartbreak Level 20. Nice. Chapter 5. For Willow's birthday banquet. I followed the script from the original Angst novel to the letter. Every detail, venue, ceremony, decorations, was arranged to perfection. On the day itself, I greeted guests at the entrance with a beaming smile. I turned around to double-check. The 6-tier cake stood elegantly beside the wine display. The distance between them precise down to the inch. Perfect. Not long after, a greasy voice drifted through the hall. "Willow, you look stunning tonight. That dress suits you perfectly. So, what do you say? Ever thought about switching careers? Be my leading lady?" Willow, dressed in a deep blue strapless gown, rolled her eyes and bumped into Makoto's arms. Drawing the attention of everyone nearby, she hit him lightly on the chest. "Ugh, you're so smooth-tongued. Can't you ever act proper?" Makoto chuckled, playfully tapped her nose. And then Willow linked her arm through his. As if he were her husband, not me. Makoto slapped his forehead theatrically. "Oh, right, I forgot to greet George." "Hey there, George, you really went all out for Willow, such a grand celebration. I can rest easy knowing my little sister married the right man." I didn't get angry. Instead, I folded my arms and looked him up and down with a faint smirk. Makoto pretended confusion. "Why are you looking at me like that, George? Did I say something wrong?" Willow was about to defend him, but I cut her off. I said, "No, not at all. You're absolutely right. For Willow, this is nothing. I spent 2 months planning everything, start to finish. In my mind," I added. "Too bad, you're the one about to ruin it." Suddenly, a soft, melodic voice came from behind me. "George, big brother." I turned around. Freya. Willow froze, her face instantly stiffening. She bit her lip and said, "You invited her too?" I replied casually, "Yeah. Is there a problem?" With a bright smile, I stepped forward and, in front of both Willow and Makoto, opened my arms to give Freya a warm, lingering hug. Then I leaned in, brushing a light kiss against her cheek. The next second, a sharp tug yanked my arm back. Willow was gripping me tightly, her composure completely shattered. Eyes wide with shock, brows furrowed in disbelief. "George, what the hell are you doing?" Chapter 6. I frowned, confused. "What do you mean? What am I doing?" She snapped angrily. "You're hugging another woman right in front of me, and you still dare to say there's nothing between you two? How could you?" "Enough, Willow." I cut her off with a low, sharp tone. I pinched the bridge of my nose and said, "You're a woman, can you not let your thoughts get so dirty? This is just how Freya greets people abroad, a cultural habit. Don't make it sound so disgraceful." Then I added coldly, "Also, this is your birthday banquet. Do you really want to make a scene like this in front of everyone?" My words hit her like a whip. She froze, lips trembling, and said slowly, "I'm the one with dirty thoughts. Tell me, what woman could accept seeing her husband hugging another woman like that? How can you be so insensitive to my feelings?" I sneered, my gaze drifting to where her arm was still looped through Makoto's. "What's the big deal? You and he were the ones hugging right in front of me, weren't you? Did I complain about that?" Willow froze. After a long moment, she awkwardly let go of Makoto's arm. She muttered, "That's different. I only see Makoto as my brother." I smiled faintly. "Funny, Freya also sees me as her brother. Looks the same to me." Willow was left speechless. Makoto quickly stepped in, pulling the sulking Willow to his side, his voice gentle but laced with sarcasm. "Don't be mad, sis. I know George well, he's not the type to cheat. Probably just a polite gesture, nothing more." His tone was mocking, but I followed his lead smoothly. "See, your brother's more reasonable than you. Why must you be so dramatic? I really don't get what you're so upset about." Makoto hadn't expected me to turn it back on him. His expression faltered immediately. Willow's face darkened further. She shot me a fierce glare, then shook off Makoto's hand and stormed away without a word. "There she goes." The moment Willow left, Makoto dropped the act. He leaned in close, speaking just loud enough for me to hear. "A useless man like you doesn't deserve such a beautiful wife. Tell me, who do you think she loves more now, me or you?" I chuckled softly. "Do I even need to guess? You saw it yourself, just a greeting, and she's on the verge of tears. Can't be helped. Also, funny how a man can enjoy eating someone else's leftovers so happily." Makoto's face twisted with anger. He ground his teeth and hissed, Keep talking big. We'll see who laughs later. He turned on his heel and walked toward Willow. Freya took a few steps closer, her voice calm. You okay? I'm fine, I replied, picking up a glass of wine and downing it in one gulp. Now, I said with a smirk, the real show's about to begin. Chapter 7. Every Angst novel has that inevitable scene, the male lead being set up and framed by the so-called male supporting character. And tonight's banquet. That was exactly the climax of that plot. The storyline was classic. Provocation, a fight, an injury, followed by the male lead's noble forgiveness. The heroine's anger, the forced apology, the emotional confrontation. I could recite it in my sleep, and now, I was just waiting for it to unfold. From a distance, Willow, eyes slightly red, was talking to her best friend, probably complaining about me. Meanwhile, Makoto sauntered over at a leisurely pace. George, he said, look at what's happened. Willow hasn't talked to you all night. He smirked. Tell me, do you think she's disappointed in you? I raised a brow, silently gesturing for him to continue. He leaned in. So, what do you think? Do I have a shot at taking advantage of the situation tonight and winning your wife over? Maybe I should give it a try. Then he chuckled. Hey, George, I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously, all right? The next moment, just like the script, I took the bait and threw a punch right at his face. Makoto's expression twisted in shock as he stumbled backward, straight toward the cake. I didn't move to stop him, didn't even blink. Just as he was about to reach the cake, Freya jumped in immediately, suddenly appearing behind him and delivering a solid shoulder slam that sent him stumbling backward. Makoto was forcibly straightened up by her impact, pulled back from the verge of falling, but the momentum sent her falling sideways, right into the wine table. Crash! The sound of shattering glass echoed through the hall. Every wine glass on the table shattered as red liquid spilled across the floor. Freya landed on the ground, a long cut opening across the back of her hand from the broken glass. Freya! I shouted, rushing forward with a look of panic. Brushing past Willow, who was moving toward Makoto, to kneel beside Freya. Seeing her bleeding hand, I clenched my fists in fury. I turned to Willow, my face full of rage. How could you be so petty and jealous? I've told you 100 times, Freya and I are just friends. Why would you stoop so low and pull something like this? My outburst left both Willow and Makoto completely dumbfounded. Willow stammered. What do you mean I pulled something like this? I barked. Wasn't it your idea? Makoto and Freya have no grudge between them. Why else would he push her? Because you couldn't stand seeing her, and wanted him to take revenge for you, right? I advanced a step, voice full of righteous fury. At that moment, the system reappeared. You're incredible. You've mastered the art of reversing the blame, I answered, my tone light and smug. Of course. On the floor, Freya clutched her bleeding hand, her voice trembling. George, don't blame them. I'm fine. It's my fault for being careless. How could you be fine? I said urgently, face full of concern. Your hands are made for the piano. How are you supposed to play after a wound like that? Makoto, utterly caught off guard, kept repeating that he didn't push her. Shut up, I snapped, glaring at him. Then I turned to Willow, my voice low and heavy. Apologized to Freya. The system chimed again. Unbelievable, heartbreak level is skyrocketing. Willow's face went pale. She looked at me in disbelief. I didn't do anything, and you want me to apologize to her? George, this is my birthday banquet, and you want me to apologize to your sweetheart at my own party? I frowned impatiently. When you do something wrong, you apologize. Is that such a hard concept to understand? Chapter 8. All eyes in the hall turned toward us. Willow bit down on her lip so hard it turned white. Her eyes were red, the corners glistening with tears she refused to let fall. She said nothing for a long time. Meanwhile, Freya's hand was still bleeding nonstop. I tore off a piece of the tablecloth and wrapped it around her wound. This won't do, I said anxiously. You're losing too much blood. I have to take you to the hospital. Freya looked up with that innocent expression of hers. It's just a small cut, and after all, it's Willow's birthday banquet. How can this be a small cut? I interrupted firmly. Do you want to ruin your hands? You won't be able to play piano again if it gets worse. Come on, we're going to the hospital. Without waiting for another word, I scooped her up in my arms and strode toward the exit. As I passed Willow, I deliberately shouldered her aside, hard enough to make her stumble, and Makoto had to catch her to keep her from falling. A perfect image of a cold, heartless husband. The system chimed in. Heartbreak level, 50. Did you see Willow's face just now? She looks like she's about to shatter, I replied. Serves her right. Feels good. That move's called striking first to gain the upper hand. The system snorted. Whether or not I feel good, I can tell you definitely do. I grinned. Of course, at this rate, I could keep acting out Torture the Cheating Woman scenes for 80 more episodes. Chapter 9. In truth, Freya's injury wasn't serious, it just looked bad. I had to give her credit. She really knew how to play along. The wound was treated quickly, but I still made sure we stayed at the hospital for another half hour. I even watched as she posted online, using a delicate, tearful tone to write about how I stayed by her side through her injury. A moment later, the system pinged. Heartbreak level +5. I smirked. Perfect. Exactly how the plot should go. By the time I got home, it was nearly 10. Willow wasn't in the bedroom. She was sitting in the living room, head bowed. The air was thick with the stench of alcohol, blended with her heavy perfume, a nauseating mix. I cleared my throat and sat down beside her, pretending to sigh in exasperation. You really went too far today, I began. Freya was a guest I personally invited to your birthday banquet. Even if you don't like her, you shouldn't have humiliated her in front of everyone. I already apologized on your behalf, but she's still hurt. You should find a chance to apologize in person, too. Willow lifted her head slowly. Her bloodshot eyes locked onto mine, then drifted downward, fixing on the faint lipstick mark on my neck. Her eyes widened, fury flashing like a spark ready to ignite. I calmly scratched at the mark and said, "Don't overthink it, mosquito bite." Before she could respond, I quickly changed the subject. "Oh, right." I reached for my coat, pulling out a small, elegant gift box. "This is for you," I said, smiling lightly. "Your birthday gift. Good thing it's still before midnight." Willow pressed her lips together and took it. The moment she opened the box, she froze, then gave a faint, bitter smile. "This Chanel perfume, it's a free gift, isn't it?" She glanced down again, voice barely above a whisper. "If I'm not mistaken, this is from the same collection as Freya's handbag." Ah, no wonder she was the female lead, sharp as ever. I dodged her gaze just the right amount and cleared my throat. "Of course not. I just bought both items at the same time. That bag was a gift for her concert, to congratulate her on coming back," I added. "Anyway, it's been a long day. Let's not make a big deal out of this, all right?" Willow closed her eyes briefly, forcing a brittle smile. She said softly, "George, don't you think you've changed?" Chapter 10. Nonsense. Of course I've changed. I'm a transmigrator. If I hadn't changed, I'd be the fool sitting alone in the living room crying right now. Willow's voice was soft, trembling slightly. She said, "In the past, you couldn't even bear to see me hurt. If I got a small scratch, you'd panic for half a day. Remember that night when I had a stomachache? It was just gastritis, but you insisted on carrying me to the hospital yourself. Seeing me in pain made you so anxious, you stayed by my bedside all night without closing your eyes once. After that, you stopped letting the housekeeper cook my meals. You insisted on making them yourself every day." Her voice cracked slightly as she went on. "And on our second anniversary, I folded 1,000 paper cranes for you. You were so moved, you hugged me and said you'd keep my 1,000 wishes forever. That when we're old and gray, we'd open them together and relive our story, telling it to our children and grandchildren. We've been through so much together. So why did you change, George? You don't worry about me anymore. You come home with another woman's lipstick on your neck. George, do you even love me anymore?" "Love you, my ass. You'd have to be brain dead to love someone like you. Cheating women never learn until the whip lands on their own backs." In the original novel, Makoto whispered lies into Willow's ear and she believed every word. The two of them perfectly in sync, tearing the male lead apart piece by piece. When the original George finally confronted her with honesty, what did she say? That he was petty, possessive, narrow-minded, and untrusting, disgusting. And now she dares to act hurt. Now she knows what pain feels like. Serves her right. I took a deep breath and said patiently, "What kind of thing are you saying? Of course I love you." Willow suddenly raised her voice. "You call this love? You protected your little childhood sweetheart in front of everyone. I did nothing wrong, yet you made me apologize to her. How is that love?" "Willow." I stood up sharply, anger flashing across my face. "Can you stop already? I told you, there's nothing between Freya and me. What do you want from me? You say I've changed, but aren't you the one who's changed? Ever since Freya came back, you've been targeting her constantly. You don't even have basic trust anymore. What's the point of this?" Willow laughed bitterly through her tears. "Trust? If I gave you enough trust, would you just go to bed with her next?" The next second, slap. I struck her across the face, full force, gritting my teeth. I pointed a finger at her and said, "Willow, listen to yourself. Is that how a wife speaks to her husband? You've gone too far." Willow turned her face aside, her fingers trembling as she wiped the tears from her cheek. I turned away from her. "I'm done," I said coldly. "I'm tired of your paranoia. I don't want to argue anymore. Think about what you've done." As I walked toward the bedroom, I heard a muffled sob catch in her throat. System notification, Heartbreak Level, 70. The moment the door closed behind me, I almost burst out laughing. Cry, break, suffer. The more tears, the more satisfying it gets. System said, I feel like you're a bit of a pervert. I smiled mysteriously and replied, to deal with a pervert, you have to be even more perverted. Chapter 11. Not long after, the sound of the front door closing came from the living room. Willow had left. In the original plot, after Makoto provokes the male lead and gets beaten, Willow erupts at the banquet, forces the male lead to apologize, helps Makoto up, and they leave together, then check into a hotel to shower. They wash for an hour. After that, Makoto takes advantage of the moment. The two of them make out passionately, and Willow doesn't return home that night. Later, Willow accidentally becomes pregnant with Makoto's child. She plans to secretly terminate it but is discovered by the male lead. She then lies and claims the baby is his. Just as the male lead is about to be tricked into taking responsibility, Makoto comes to confront them and exposes the truth. Only then does the male lead resolutely file for divorce, even willing to walk away with nothing, to sever ties with the cheating woman once and for all. Now that Willow has gone out, she most likely went to find Makoto. From my many years of reading, tonight will probably unfold the same way. Willow and Makoto drink and complain about my alleged scumbag behavior, while the childhood friend soothingly confesses he's always loved Willow. Ultimately, alcohol-fueled indiscretion, they end up together. The system said, not to flatter you, but your intuition is pretty accurate. Your wife has already kissed the childhood friend. I clicked my tongue in disgust and said, don't gross me out. I don't have such a shameless wife. The system asked, okay, put the jokes aside. What do you plan to do next? I replied, keep tormenting her. The system warned, Willow has already slept with the childhood friend. If you keep provoking her like this, aren't you afraid she'll truly give up on you, fully side with Makoto, and file for divorce? Then how will you torture her later? I sat back in the wide sofa chair, crossed my legs, and smiled with complete confidence. Relax. I've seen people like Willow plenty of times. She's a textbook double standard type, only she gets to do what she wants. Others aren't allowed. She thinks it's okay for her to have male friends, but if I do, that's unacceptable. She believes others' mistakes are unforgivable, while her own are fated or excusable. If she cheats, she'll either claim Makoto took advantage of her weakness or blame me for not treating her well enough. In short, she always shifts the blame onto others and never takes responsibility. So even if she truly gives up on me, she'll wait until I file for divorce first, then she can stay on the moral high ground, condemn me righteously, and bargain with me. I paused, then continued, even if, hypothetically, she really does file for divorce, I'll torment her to death before I file, not just psychologically, also physically. Chapter 12. The next day, Willow didn't come back until nearly noon. I sat in the living room, scanning her disheveled clothes with a silent look. Her expression was awkward. I asked, where did you go last night? She bit her lip and said, nowhere. I was in a bad mood, so I went to my best friend's place. I saw through it but didn't call her out. I withdrew my scrutinizing gaze, feigning indifference. I said, if you've calmed down, apologize to Freya tonight. She has an interview this evening. After that we'll have dinner together. Willow froze. Her already reddened eyes became even more bloodshot. George, I didn't come home all night and you don't ask who I was with. You just tell me to apologize to Freya. Oh, this is interesting. If I pressed for details, she'd blow up to cover her guilt and then accuse me of not trusting her, of being too controlling. If I ignore it, she gets upset. Classic. I asked, why would I pry? Didn't you say you were at your friend's? I understand you're upset about Freya, but running away won't solve anything. Freya didn't accuse you of hurting her on purpose. She already gave us face. An apology is the least you can do. Don't confuse right and wrong. Willow exhaled angrily, face flushed, spat out something unreasonable, don't expect me to apologize, and slammed the door to the bedroom. I leaned back in my chair, ready to nap a bit more. I didn't really expect Willow to apologize. I just wanted to make her feel disgusted on purpose. Chapter 13. Over the next few months, I kept up a deliberately ambiguous relationship with Freya, just enough to keep Willow on edge. But whether she had gotten used to it, or Makoto was doing a good job comforting her, I didn't know. The heartbreak level stayed stuck at 85 and refused to move. The system, clearly anxious, said, think of something. Your usual tricks aren't working anymore. If this mission fails, we're both screwed. I stretched lazily and said, what's the rush? The real drama hasn't even started yet. Haven't you noticed Willow's starting to show? Ah yes, the congratulations. You're not the father plotline still hadn't triggered. Besides, I hadn't yet submitted all the evidence I'd quietly gathered on Willow and Makoto to the police. Just as I said that, the doorbell rang. See, the show's coming to us. Sure enough, standing outside was Makoto, his face glowing with smug satisfaction. Just like in the original story, he swaggered in, plopped himself down on my sofa, and pulled a document from his pocket. I calmly pressed the record button on my pen, then picked up the report with a frown. What's the meaning of this? I asked. Makoto grinned. Exactly what it says. George, Willow's pregnant. He leaned back with a smirk. She didn't tell you, did she? Do you know why? I pinched my thigh hard enough to make my voice tremble with pain. You're saying Willow is pregnant with your child? He spread his hands. Of course, why else would I be here? I clenched my fists, my voice rising. No. I don't believe you. Willow told me herself, you're just like a brother to her. You're lying. Makoto looked at me like I was an idiot. Wow, you actually believe that brother crap? He gave a mocking laugh. Think about it, on Willow's birthday, she didn't come home, right? Guess who she was with? I stayed silent, deliberately dragging out the pause. He continued, smirking wider. You really are clueless. She's already showing. And you didn't even notice. I was waiting for you to come confront me, but you're too pathetic. So I had to come myself. Then he puffed out his chest and declared, let me be blunt. I'm the eldest legitimate son of the Ito family, only heir of 3 generations. We're counting on Willow to continue our bloodline. So that child, he can't take your surname. Do us both a favor. Pack up your things and get out. For a second, I was genuinely stunned. Eldest legitimate son. What is this? The Qing dynasty? I cursed him 10 times over in my head before replying coldly. This is just a medical report. It could easily be faked. Even if Willow is pregnant, what proof do you have that the child is yours? I've been married to her for 4 years. I refuse to believe she would betray me. Makoto's smug grin faltered. He clearly hadn't expected that. He jumped up, furious. Fine. He snapped. You don't believe me. I'll make you believe me. He scrolled through his phone and shoved it in my face. On the screen, 2 naked bodies tangled together. The audio, very explicit. I blinked, speechless. Oh God, my eyes. The video played for 20 excruciating minutes. Then Makoto said smugly, now you believe me. Huh? I made my voice shake even more, feigning rage and heartbreak. You actually. How could Willow do this to me? How could she? I buried my face in my hands, looking every bit the broken, cuckolded husband. Makoto sneered. Face it, George. The proof's right here. Willow and the baby, they're both mine. Be smart, walk away clean. Give us your house, and stop embarrassing yourself. With that, he stood, chest puffed out in triumph, and swaggered out the door. Chapter 14. Honestly, I've always thought Makoto was kind of dumb. No matter what. Even as a C-list washed-up actor, he's still a public figure. And he didn't even try to hide this sordid stunt. He slapped it right in front of me. The internet crowd eats that kind of gossip up. In the original story, the male lead kept a low profile and rarely revealed his identity on social media. Willow never officially announced she was married either. So when Makoto and Willow got cozy, the onlookers just thought they were a good match. So when I uploaded the recording online, along with our marriage certificate and a sensational post accusing Makoto of destroying a marriage, it didn't even need paid promotion. It shot to number 1 on the trending list on organic traction alone, with a bright red tag that screamed, breaking. Makoto was dumbfounded. He never expected me to publicly humiliate him like that. The system told me Willow found out and was so distraught she suffered a threatened miscarriage and had to be hospitalized to protect the pregnancy. Paparazzi chased her on the way there, which only sealed the proof of her affair with Makoto. After that, Willow called me more than 40 times. I didn't pick up a single one. You can guess what she wanted to say, how cruel I was, that no matter how wrong she'd been, a man shouldn't treat his former bed partner like that. I'm not that bored to listen to her whining. Besides, I was still brewing something big. Heh. Chapter 15. When Willow finally recovered enough to confront me, I wasn't at home or at the company. I was at Freya's private piano studio, where she usually practiced. It took Willow quite a while to track me down. Of course, that was because I'd intentionally leaked my location. I asked the system, where's Willow now? Is she upstairs yet? Just came up the stairs, almost at the door. It replied, you can start your performance. I cleared my throat, instantly slipping into character. Looking into Freya's eyes, I said with dramatic sincerity, my feelings for Willow were all fake. How could she ever compare to you? If you hadn't gone abroad, she would have never had the chance. She was just a stand-in. Can't you see? When she smiles, she has a dimple, just like yours. Every time I saw it, I thought of you. You said you wouldn't come back, so I had no choice but to marry her. If you'd come home earlier, everything would have been different. I paused, lowered my voice, and continued. Makoto, I'm not even angry. Whatever she does with him, I don't care. The only one I care about is you. Actually, I should thank Makoto. What an idiot. He just handed me the perfect excuse to divorce Willow. Now that she's the one at fault, I can dump her and keep all my assets. Freya, once the divorce is done, I'll marry you right away. Okay. Bang. The door burst open, Willow stood there, pale as a ghost, eyes wide and trembling violently. Her voice cracked with fury as she forced out each word. George, is that true? All these years, you've treated me as a replacement. Our eyes met. For a second, the entire room froze. Freya leapt up from the piano, terrified, and hid behind me. Willow clenched her teeth so hard it sounded like grinding stone, her expression pure rage and heartbreak. After a suitable pause of shock, I let out a cold laugh and said, "Well, since you've already heard everything, there's no point in hiding it anymore." "Yes, it's exactly as you heard," Willow snapped. Her composure shattered completely, her voice was raw, desperate, and trembling. "I gave you my heart for over 10 years. You were playing me this whole time. Is that what my love means to you, just a joke?" I furrowed my brow, feigning confusion. "Why are you so angry? Didn't you sleep with Makoto? You even have his child now, what right do you have to judge me?" Then I smiled thinly. "Oh right, remember your birthday night? You weren't home, were you?" "Well, guess what? I wasn't home either." I slid my arm around Freya's waist, pulling her tightly against me, my gaze sharp and deliberate. "Wanna take a guess who I was with?" Chapter 16. Willow completely lost control, her eyes bloodshot. She raised her hand and lunged toward Freya, but before she could reach her, I caught her wrist in one swift motion. A second later, slap. Freya followed my lead perfectly, landing a sharp backhand across Willow's face. Willow clutched her cheek, stunned for several seconds before the pain set in. Her face twisted from the burning sting, and she looked utterly disheveled and pitiful. A low laugh rumbled from my chest. The system commented, "Ease up a little. Even cartoon villains don't laugh as wickedly as you. Can't help it," I replied with a grin. "It's just too damn satisfying. If every Angst novel could unfold like this, I'd be the happiest man alive." I asked, "How's the heartbreak level now?" 9-5, it replied. "Perfect. Just one final blow to finish it." Willow gripped the edge of the table to steady herself. Her complexion was gray, her expression hollow. "I must have been blind," she said bitterly. "I should have seen what kind of beasts you two really are." "George, aren't you afraid of retribution for what you've done?" I smiled calmly. "There you go again, retribution. Really? Look who's talking. You know perfectly well what you've done. If anything, this," I gestured around us, "is your retribution. And it's not even over yet." Right as I finished speaking, heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway. A group of police officers marched in, efficient and professional. Two of them stepped forward and grabbed Willow by each arm. "Miss Liu," one officer said, "we've received a formal report accusing you of embezzlement and misappropriation of company funds during your tenure at WL Corporation. Please come with us to cooperate with our investigation." Willow froze, color draining from her face. Then she slowly turned toward me, her voice trembling. "It was you." I maintained a polite, almost gentle smile, and gave a small nod. Her voice cracked into a scream. "Why? You said you gave me financial control because you trusted me, because you wanted me to feel secure. Now that you don't love me anymore, you're using it to destroy me. George, how could you be this cruel?" I chuckled softly. "Oh, Willow, wrong again." I raised one finger and wagged it lightly. "You really never change, do you? Always blaming others. You did embezzle, you did misuse company funds, and yet here you are, accusing me for giving you the authority to do it. You've spent your whole life cleaning your hands of guilt, pushing every mistake onto someone else. Maybe you're used to getting away with that with me, but try saying those words to a judge, and see if he lets you off the hook. See if the law indulges you." Willow's body went slack. The last spark in her eyes dimmed out completely, pure despair settling in its place. From the evidence I'd gathered, the amount she'd siphoned was enough to earn her 10 years behind bars. Of course, since she was pregnant, she'd probably get temporary parole until the baby was born. That was fine. Sooner or later, the child would come into the world, and she'd go right back to serving her sentence. Like I said, my punishment wouldn't stop at emotional pain. As the police led her away, Willow paused at the doorway. She steadied herself on the frame, turned back with trembling lips, and asked, "George, let me ask you one last thing. Did you ever love me?" Oh, that line. I'd been waiting for it. I straightened, face calm and resolute. My lips parted, and I delivered the final word with sharp precision. "Never." God, it felt good. Willow's hand slipped from the doorframe, her body going limp as she disappeared from sight. A chime rang in my head, and fireworks exploded across my mind. System notification. Heartbreak level 100. Mission complete. Excellent. Applause. Chapter 17. After Willow was taken away, Freya turned to me with a bright, satisfied smile. "President Wong, it's been a pleasure working with you." I loosened my arm from around her shoulders and took a polite step back, maintaining proper social distance. "Pleasure's mine," I replied with a courteous smile. The truth was, There had never been anything real between us. From the very beginning, Freya and I had only made a business deal. I used her to help me take down Willow, and once everything was done, I rewarded her with 2 major project contracts. No one complains about making more money. Freya took a step forward, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear as her tone softened. President Wong, honestly, I've always admired you. I'm drawn to powerful men, the kind who stay calm in any situation, who can analyze problems for me and guide me through them, men like you. Stop. I raised a hand, palm outward, cutting her off before she could continue. Sorry, I said flatly. I'm not interested in anything romantic right now. I'm speechless. Every single one of you, just stop trying to get involved with me. One after another. Everyone wanted to get involved. I waved dismissively and turned to leave the piano room. The sun outside was dazzling, almost as if it were celebrating my victory, its golden light spilling over everything, warm and triumphant. I asked the system. Pretty impressive. Huh? Impressive indeed, it replied. You really opened my eyes. Interested in long-term collaboration? I've still got a few scripts where you can play the villain. I rolled my eyes. No thanks. I'm not truly evil, just strategic. Call it moral counterattack against cheating women. My only wish in life is that cheaters stay far away from me, and world peace. Oh, and tell your system department to stop churning out those pathetic angst novel storylines. All that emotional self-torture, it's exhausting. I'll try, the system said helplessly. Whatever, not my problem. I just hoped my brothers out there would learn to open their eyes when it came to women. Now, there was only one thing left to do: go home.